What's up, Blockcraftman here? This is how to do Python part 1 in 10 minutes. The whole Python thing is how to do Python in 30 minutes, but this 10 minute tutorial is the basics. This is Replit. Python is a coding language, and it's really cool, and I'm going to be teaching you the basics of it in like 10 minutes. So anything you need to know to start coding a few projects in Python. I'm going to give you a few exercises if you want them. I'm just going to add them when I'm done recording. But if you want to download Python, you'd go to python.org and download the latest version. If you want to do this from the safety of your web browser, go to replit.com. Just search up Replit. It's really simple. It'll probably, if you want to create an account, just create it. It's pretty simple. Don't need to do anything. After that, you click create, and you can type in Python as your coding thing, because there's a bunch of other coding languages that you can use. On Replit, it's a coding software, and then you should come on this screen. I'm going to be using Replit because it's from the safety of your browser. Pretty simple. You don't have to download anything. Probably not going to get any viruses from this. And you can even import files, do all that stuff, use and add a bunch of other stuff to your programs, and you can actually just use this to make all of your projects, and just like use this as your main tool, and you'd basically be able to make a website with this and actually publish it, I think. But let me get started. So to main interface, it starts off with the file main.py. You can create a new file and then call it anything. .py is like a .py file. So if you call it hello world and then .py, then it'll do a Python file. There's other things like JS for JavaScript, CPP for C++. You can import files and work on many different things, and you can so let's say I created an hello world .html file right there. Clicked it, and then now you can just switch between the two files. You can code in HTML, and you can also code in Python, and you can delete files by clicking delete, or just delete it from here. You can click this and insert things on the left or right. So let's see. Do all those stuff. You can close tabs, maximize them to start coding, but click run to run your programs, and let's get started. So now that you know how to download it, have gotten to know the interface of Replit. Most things also show you some of the interfaces, like the PyCharm, but when you're doing PyCharm, you do want to add it to path. If you download it, click that. It's basically pretty straightforward, or else, So first, I want to teach you two of the simplest things in Python that you need to know. First is one of the things that most people start off with. So comments. So you put a hash in Python, and then you can type whatever you want, and that would create a comment. A comment is a piece of code that won't run if it has this hash. To make a new line, then the rest of the code will run. Okay, so the comment is best to be adding comments out. Like after you've typed a script, you can add a comment, or like before you type a script, you can add a comment and tell what that script does, just in case you haven't worked on a project for a while. Second up, I'm going to teach you about printing. So print is a function, and a function is basically something that already has code for it. And I'll teach you how to make functions, but this is just a function that Python just automatically has incorporated into it. And then you use parentheses to make a Python a function run. But if you type something inside of that function, it just makes the function do something. Or if it's like a built-in function or a function that's already there, you basically add code, and then it will compute that function. So print of that, and then you could type in hello world, and you don't have to. It's string. It's called a string, and you can use single or double quotes to type in a string. Yeah, and I used to like double quotes, but now I like single quotes. It makes your code look a bit neater. So hello world, and then what it does, you can print out numbers and strings too. It's just that you won't be able to do as much with them as you'll learn in later tutorials of this. So hello world, there we go. But what if you're saying like hello's world, like hello's world, and you used single quotes? Well, then it would basically not understand where your code is finishing and ending, because it'll think your script ends here. Or even worse, it just doesn't know where it's ending at all. Like this, and if you click run, it'll give you an error. Most times errors show you what the mistake is, so you can use it. But that's why when you do this, you should use, if you have an apostrophe, you should use double quotes. And if you're using double quotes how you're supposed to use them, then you might want to use single quotes on the outside. So now that's all that you need to know about printing, and you know more about strings now. And now that you know about that, I want to teach you about the 4 data types. So the 4 data types and what they are data types are like different things that Python can actually use and run. First is strings, which is, for short, is str in Python. And that's textual data, whatever you put inside of a string. Second of all, after a string, you can also use a number, which is in Python an integer, and in math you can also use it as an integer. And then next, there is a float, which is a decimal number in Python, and you just type it as float. Last but not least is a Boolean value, which some of you guys might know if you've done Scratch or other things, or watched your Growth Patch tutorial or one of my tutorials. Maybe, I don't know if I said that these words or not. I mean Boolean or not, but a Boolean is a true or false value. I didn't type that right, but value. So that's what it is. And so now that you've learned the 4 data types of Python, I want to quickly teach you about something which is called a variable. So, and before that, I also want to teach you a value is basically just something that's just being directly typed in, rather as strings or textual data with the double quotes, single quotes, stuff like that. So yeah. And so variables are when you type in a name like hi, and then you put space equal, and then give it a value. You can use a Boolean value like true, decimal value like float, a number, or you can use a string value like a string. And you're gonna use underscores, and with hi, if let's say you're saying hi Martin, you don't want to add spaces because the program will not execute, right? Let me try that out actually. See, error. What you want to do is you want to put an underscore as your spaces, and it also makes your code more readable. And when you use numbers, big numbers like this, commas, like you do this. Well, Python doesn't understand about commas. So what you do is you use an underscore every 3 numbers. And it doesn't actually affect the code at all. So then if you print, you don't need, this is just a value, so you don't have to add quotes or anything. Print hi Martin, it will print everything without the underscore, as you can see. So you've learned about variables, values, strings, all the different data types, and comments in this first video. In the second video, we will learn, I think, a lot of stuff that you will actually use. And as a quick exercise, when you use print, what I want you to do is make like a dog or something. So you could do this, and then basically if you print something, you can even get one of those emoji apps and print it line by line. So doggy, you can add 4 legs, so you can add like 4 legs, and then when you print it out, it'll look like this. It'll just stack it on top of each other. Definitely didn't take that from another tutorial about because he that's how he made a dog and printed it, but you could do it any way you'd like. So try experimenting with that and doing a bunch of other stuff and printing out stuff with variables too. You could even do that with variables and print it out. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next part. Coming up in later videos, the more intense. I say no. It says ice cream is yucky. I say no. Ice cream is yucky. Oh my god, this actually looks like my computer's blocked. Oh my god. And I don't know what to do about it.